I'm not sure we got that. One more time, coming out of Charlie's South Coast Reflector Hub. Is that KJ5AB? Is what Vicky copied, and I don't know how she pulled that out. Is that correct or anywhere near right?
You're right. It's Kilo Juliet 5 Papa Bravo Zulu. Over.
Oh, Robert, you were better with the first call. You didn't come up red. I'm sorry, you've been in here before too. You come up red on our log. Should have stuck with the first sign. I'll have to ask you to come back when we get to the 5th call district. Thanks for being there. Who else do I have new to this net? If you've never checked into this net before, if you don't know, we'll tell you.
Alpha India 7, Zulu Sierra.
Kilo Juliet Mike India Papa Mike.
Kilo Echo 2, Charlie Kilo.
Gals, we asked for the call signs twice, please. Looks like we got KE2CCK, and we had Mike KI7ZS. You've been in here before, Mike. Unfortunately, I'm going to ask you to come back in with the 7th call district. We'll drop you out of this rotation. And just after that, was it KJ something? We need that call sign. We're missing a number in there, so we need that call sign twice, please. The KJM or IPM, whatever the suffix was.
Yes, sir. Kilo Juliet 5 India Mike. Kilo Juliet 5 India Papa Mike Ricardo.
We got it, Montgomery, Texas. All right, we'll go right to you. Ricardo, KJ5 IPM. Welcome to the net. It looks like you do not have a current email address on your QRZ page either, so a little homework assignment for you to go per the current email so we can get a hold of you and send you a welcome letter. So, good evening, and what's on your mind tonight?
Just listening for some. I've been a ham for about 6 weeks and looking to buy my first mobile, so I'm just listening for good information.
All right, I think we had Neil in queue here for the same, so I'll let Neil ask a question and you can butt in if necessary. Just hold on for a few minutes here. We'll get to the question and answer in just a minute. Matthew, KE2CCK, good evening to you.
Hey there, good. This is KE2CCK. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, Matthew. Welcome to the East Coast Reflector Tech Dot. Anything on your mind tonight?
Well, yeah, I guess a little bit. I live in Cortland County, New York. I just recently moved from Herkimer County, New York, and I have some big mountains around me here, and I'm debating what kind of antenna I want to put up. You know, the roof of my house is auto, so if I had put a pretty good mag up on the roof for VHF, UHF only. I was debating if that would make a good ground plane for that, or should I go ahead and try something else. And the repeater for my house is 11.2 miles away, so I think that 60 watts would be more than sufficient on that end. I'm really just concerned about the antenna at this point, so I've been thinking about that for the last few days here anyhow, because I'm getting ready to make a purchase and a final decision. But I think that's all that's on my mind besides trying to stay warm up. Yeah, that's it. This is KE2CCK, and back to
Hi, Matthew. Well, I put you in queue as well. When we get to the technical questions, we don't have a ton of questions tonight. Maybe we can entertain that as well. But you might be in store for some sort of a Yagi, but let's see how big the mountain you have to go over. Who else do I have stations? If you've never checked into this net before, call twice and slowly. Kilo Echo 8 Yankee India Romeo Kate. Alright, KE8YIR, Hudson, Ohio. What's on your mind tonight?
Yes, sir. Good evening, and everyone on the net. On my mind tonight, brand new to All-Star. Have lots of questions, lots of trying to figure out how to connect local repeater. I'm running through a little node here, so hopefully, and I'll just listen in back to net.
Alright, we're going to try something here, try to get rid of some of the packet loss. I'd take a different path in here tonight and see what happens. We'll put you in queue as well, Gerald, and hopefully we can find an answer for you. Just give me a little here to get down through these new people and come back around. Scott says that's better. For some reason, I have a tremendous amount of packet loss on Tuesday nights. I don't know why, so I'm going to go through one of the local repeaters here. Who else do I have tonight? New to this net. Just want to get in and say hello, or we'll put you in queue for a question, but if you've never tried before, this is your one and only chance. Call signs twice.
Echo 6, India Golf Zulu.
Oh, is that WD8CRP or CRT? Maybe that's CRT. Looks like Huntsville Alabama. Is that correct? This is Neil. WD8CRT. Do we have your call sign correct? Is this Neil? That is the correct call sign. Alright, Neil, we'll get to you in just a minute. I'm going to go to David first. Woodland Hills, California, KE6IGZ. Good evening, David. Good evening to you, David. And what's on your mind tonight?
Reflector TechNet.
Wanted to say hi. I'm in New York. I just arrived today in Ronkonkoma, New York, and I'm on my HT visiting some family here, so I wanted to say hi. Can't stay in too long because I got to get back to the family, but yeah, that's what's happening over here. This is KE6IGZ.
All right, well, thank you for being there tonight. We're here every Tuesday night, and we have been for the last 600 Tuesday nights. This is our little anniversary for 12 and a half years. How about Neil in Huntsville, Alabama? WD8CRT. I like that call, Neil. Welcome. You're new to the system, and I see you do have a current email address on QRZ. We'll be sending you a welcome letter. Good evening. Yeah, I was just scanning your frequencies for this one come up. I haven't been on VHF or UHF in decades since I moved overseas. So just listening and seeing what's available. We're here. This is the East Coast Reflector. It's a large system. Got 400 connections here tonight, so stick with us, ride along with us for a little while, and we'll hopefully enlighten you with some questions and answers. Last call for new users into this net before. We got questions in queue already, so last call. If you've never checked into this net before, your call sign twice, please. Yeah, thanks whoever took that off. I just froze up here for some reason. I got all kinds of issues going on here tonight for our that number 600. That was a dead carrier coming in here. Last call for stations with a question, or I'm sorry, new to this station with a question. So if you've never checked into this net before, we'll get you up at the top of the list. Call signs twice.
Kilo Juliet 5 Juliet Hotel Zulu, Los Angeles, Mexico.
The KJ5JHZ, is that correct?
Oh, Juliet 5 Juliet Hotel Zulu, Dennis.
All right, Dennis, we got you. You must be new. You don't come up on QRZ. So good evening to you, and welcome to the East Coast Reflector TechNet. Dennis, and what's on your mind tonight? We're just kind of kicking thoughts around, and got a question. We'll entertain it a little bit later, but you're going to be our last new user tonight before we go to questions. So good evening. Tell us where you're located and go forth.
I just recently got my license, so I'm just kicking around and seeing what's out there and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, Dennis, you're pretty noisy. You're pretty noisy coming in. We didn't get too much of that, but welcome anyway. Let's go to stations with questions. I got 4 in queue here, and who I have tonight, stations with questions. Where am I here? Got a couple of questions. Questions coming in.
WA9 SNY, late check-in, Whiskey Alpha 9, Sierra November Yankee.
Right. You're new to the system. Well, we'll get you. SNY. You're new. That'll be our last new check-in here before we go to stations with questions. So, good evening to you, and 9 SNY in California.
Yeah, WA9 SNY in California. This is Sandy. Been a ham for 52 years, way from the analog days, RF, and just getting back into the hobby. And I just got a 2-meter rig, handheld, and I'm just kind of checking all this out. I did watch a YouTube video on what you guys do, which is pretty darn cool. So I'm just going to listen tonight, no questions, just want to make sure I was getting out. WA9 SNY, back to net.
That Sandy will put you in for be in our database. You know, and yeah, thanks for stopping by and sharing a little bit of time with us tonight. We'll take stations with questions. I got Scott, Neil, Matthew, and Gerald, I think, in there with questions tonight. So we'll come back to you. But let's see who else I have. Stations with questions. Your call sign choice is slowly, please. This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
W4F wind, W4 Foxtrot, Whiskey November.
I got you, John. What we got here? Killed a few things tonight on audio. So let's see if we still got the bad packet loss that seems to be happening every week. Yeah, it's better now. Killed a few things running here in the shack. I maybe had too much going tonight. We got you, Dan, my friend from Stanford, Florida, W4FWN. Dan, I'll take your question, then I'll go and take these 4 that we got. Good evening to you.
Well, good evening, Dick, and everyone else on the net. My only question is, I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia area, actually to Griffin, Georgia, and I noticed there's no RF meters that handle the East Coast reflector. I guess my best way of taking my hotspot along would be Echo Link. Does that sound like my best solution for visiting back to net control? This is W4FWN.
Yep, I don't think we got much going in Atlanta. I don't think we ever had anything land at the end. If you have, if you're a registered All-Star user, you can use DV Switch. It's all written up in this month's our magazine, our news magazine this month on how to do it. If you got an Android phone, works on the Apple as well. Instructions aren't written for that; they were written for Android. But you've got an All-Star account, but if not, you're gonna have to fall back on Echo Link.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the information. That's what your map showed. Also, it might be helpful, I've never looked at the map before, to know what cities those maps in. Those nodes are in. It has the call letters, and of course you can look that up on QRZ and all that kind of stuff. But it might be helpful to know, like I looked up one in South Carolina, and it gave me the call letters, but it didn't tell me what town it's located in. That might be a bit more helpful. I don't know what it would be to put that on the map, but it might be more helpful to check. But thanks, I appreciate it. Back to net control, W4.
Right, and Vicki said she emailed you some information, so you got something from her in your inbox tonight. I guess that's not on there. We'll have to talk to Kevin. That's Kevin's project. Maybe he'll be along here a little later tonight, and we'll have to ask him about that. I'm sure that can be done. So thank you for bringing that up. And like I say, Echo Link or the DV Switch should work for you. Let's go back up to Scott, K8VXM. I forgot what your question was, Scott, but go ahead and ask it again. We'll see if we can find you.
All right, Dick, and the fellas and ladies out there, this is K8VXM, Scott, in the Detroit area. My question was, has anybody dealt with a log periodic antenna? And I know there's a lot of stuff on the YouTube about it, and I've seen a lot of videos, but anyone with experience, and let me know what they think. I'm getting out about 25, 30 miles with a disc cone. Incidentally, I just switched over to Echo Link. I felt like getting out checked back upstairs. But yeah, let me back to you. Net control. This is K8
KC6 UFM. Well, there's the man. Good evening, Charles. KC6 UFM. I'm sure you'll find an answer.
Good evening, Dick, and everyone out on the TechNet tonight. This is Charles, KC6 UFM in SoCal. Scott, I got to say right up front that I absolutely love log periodics. They're the most fascinating thing. Even back in the old days of the great big log periodic TV antennas, they fascinated me. I have a few of them, not many, but I have built a few. I never purchased one because they seem to be priced about the same as platinum. You pay by the pound on those puppies, and it's not cheap. But they do work. You're going to have significantly less gain than what you would have on a similarly sized monoband Yagi-type antenna. But if you're getting in with a disc cone, which is unity gain, I would encourage you to look at a gain-type vertical. Maybe one of the Comet GP series. They have a GP15, which is 6'2" and 70 centimeters, and it works absolutely phenomenal. And they're a whole lot cheaper. And you're up there in Michigan. I mean, you get some snow and some things of that nature, some icing. Vertical is going to survive winter a whole lot better than a log periodic, but they do work. They are phenomenal antennas, but they're very complicated and they're very expensive. Back over to you, Dick, KC6 UFM.
Charles, what would you think of that answer, Scott?
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I think I'll tinker. I'll see what happens. I'm a tinker. I might end up making one at some point, and I think I've got the ability to do it. But I did have a J-pole, copper J-pole I started out with when I became a ham almost 3 years ago, and it worked great. I could hit this stuff, but mention that other one again that he had mentioned, that vertical. Write it down real quick. If you could just shoot that over, or maybe Vicky can shoot it in the email, something to that effect. But yeah, I appreciate the answer, and yeah, I'll look into it, and maybe I'll bring it up again at some other point. But it's good to be here on the net, and back to you next, Joel. This is XM.
K4FXC. Okay, guys, what comment was it, Charlie? The GP6, what's up?
The entire Comet GP6 is good. I personally have the GP15, GP15, which is 70 centimeters, 2 meters, and 6 meters. And absolutely love that antenna. It does a phenomenal job. KC6 UFM.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening, David.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I just walked in here kind of late tonight and just heard the question, and I just wondered what the reasoning was for wanting to build a log periodic. Just is it just for experimental purposes, learning how to do it, or since I mean the ham bands that we have are spread out as far as they are, particularly VHF and UHF, that it's not the best fit for a log periodic from an aspect of you have a lot of wasted elements in most cases versus like if you're building it for TV usage or something like that, where the the band is contiguous for large portions of spectrum. So I just wondered what was the reasoning behind the log periodic versus just building a standard Yagi, or as Charles said, since you're getting them with the disc cone, standard gain vertical, I imagine will give you impressively improved results. But just a question, K4FXC.
Scott, you want to answer that? The reason for the long periodic?
Strictly tinkering. Nothing, no real reason. Just it just came up. Just saw something in my feed, and I've been looking at it and considering it just as a tinkering thing. But yeah, all right, back to you. I appreciate it. This is K8VXM back next, Joel.
God, yeah, I agree with David. That's you buy one, it's a waste of money. If you don't need that kind of bandwidth, I wouldn't go with it. But yeah, a good gain vertical. Geez, you mentioned which has no gain, and I think you'll see a world of difference. Get a little bit of gain, and you'll do well. Let's go to Neil. What was the second question you had tonight, Neil? Was it a relatively inexpensive mobile? Was that, and somebody else had that as well. Was that your question? No, it's long time scam. Yeah, just sort of no questions. I think that was Neil, though. I don't know who that was that just said no question, but I'm going to KE0MIS, Neil. Was the second part of your question earlier. What's an inexpensive mobile radio for UHF, VHF? I just realized we got two Neils in here. Scott just said we got two Neils. Thank you to Neil number one, but I'm directing this question to KF0MIS in Kansas City, Missouri. Sorry for the confusion. Kansas City, Missouri, Neil, were you looking for an inexpensive mobile rig for the third time?
Yes. Looking for something that's inexpensive, maybe some tricks, something that makes it kind of a little bit clever. I have an F-150, and I just kind of want it to look right, kind of, just kind of be kind of clever, and, if there's something that's inexpensive out there, I kind of all ears. That's it.
Wants to help us out tonight on an inexpensive UHF, VHF mobile, the QIT or one of those. They're like $100 and a half or $100 and a quarter.
There, this is KE2CCK. I had an inexpensive mobile radio, and it was a very good radio. It was the TYT-TH 9800D. Now that was the refurbished one. That wasn't the one that had come out first that had issues. So it was the second one, and I think it was like just peaking the $200 range, or about $228 or so. Sometimes you could get them on sale for a little bit less than that. But it's a quad band transceiver, and I had that on my F-150, and it worked wonders. It was a wonderful radio, easy to program, work with chirp, downloading stuff. Yeah, it was a really nice radio. Good quality sound on the receive side too, and I think it had 3 or 4 power modes up to 50 watts. So it did a good job, and that so far has been my favorite expensive mobile radio. This is KE2CCK, back to net control.
Thank you, Pat. There's one for you, Neil, but they're out there. Just look around DX Engineering. They've got them on, all the stores got them, but they on Amazon probably have it tomorrow morning if you're lucky. So just look for UHF, VHF mobiles, and I'd say about $100 and a quarter. I think would pretty much be in your. We could get one for somewhere in there. Mike CMT, he's got one. I don't know what the model number of that. I think he paid $100 and a quarter for it, and he's had really good luck with it. I know he likes it. Maybe he'll jump in there. Thanks for your question, Neil. Good luck. Let's go to Matthew, KE2CCK. I forgot what's your question. Let's go ahead.
Hey there, thank you. Yeah, so I have a little issue here at my house. I'm surrounded by mountains almost in every direction. So using, HTs around the house isn't really kind of the deal here. I need to get an antenna for the house, for a base station, just VHF, UHF, and I was wondering how good of an idea it would be to use a mag mount antenna on my metal roof and use the roof for a ground plane. I was wondering if anybody's ever experienced with that, tried it, or had it good or any bad luck in that field. So, yeah, I guess that's my question. This is KE2CCK, back to net control. KC6UFM.
Charles, man, might be surprised. That might work pretty well. What do you think, Charles?
This is KC6UFM. Yeah, it can work extremely well, but there is a caveat there. When you say metal roof, Matthew, I'm assuming that you mean like the corrugated tin type roof, and which is one that I'm extremely familiar with time back in the Midwest. But the problem comes in is that unless you specifically bond those individual sheets, which as I recall they're about 2 feet wide and 8 feet long, unless you explicitly bond those together, you're going to have all kinds of interesting things going on with basically semiconductors setting up fusion, and your ground plane, if you will change probably pretty rapidly. So if you could bond, let's see if I'm remembering right, and they're 2 feet wide, if you could bond like 4 of those together, side by side, and then put your mag mount antenna pretty much in the center of that bonded segment, will probably work pretty good. On the other hand, you're probably going to have better luck again going with some kind of an actual gain vertical, and just putting that on a pole, maybe connected at the eaves, or if you have a chimney, some sort of a chimney mount or something like that. You did not say how far away the repeaters are that you're trying to hit, and also how high the mountains are around you, and right along with that, we would need to actually know the height of the antennas, the repeaters. So, it's probably going to work pretty well if you put up some sort of a gain vertical, but you can run into all kinds of problems using a tin roof unless you go through and, again, like I say, explicitly bond those panels together and then bond those to ground. Back over to you, Dick, KC6UFM. K4FX, another comment.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, K4FXC, I agree 100% with what Charles was saying, and I'll just mention something else, that a side effect of the diode effect that can happen between the panels where it's got 4 connections is you can generate RFI that tears up consumer devices such as TV sets, radios, anything over the air, TV sets, anything like that. It has that unintended side effect as well. I've personally experienced that on 8, where a dipole was above.
Pretty good.
Personally experienced that on 8. Yeah, I think somebody may have linked in a parrot there. Anyway, so it's that's one thing to be thinking of as well. On VHF, UHF, the ground plane is so small, it's about as well just to build it yourself and include it with the antenna, and then the exact RF properties that it's expecting. So it's HF might be a little different scenario where you might be able to use a roof, but for VHF, UHF, include the counterpoise as part of the antenna. Just my thoughts. K4FXC.
both very good points. Well, Matthew, you got some homework to do, but, you know, I think the biggest decision, like Charles had said as well, you know, how high are these mountains and where are the repeaters in regards to these mountains? You know, you might have to skim over the top with some sort of a Yagi, but certainly go with a gain antenna maybe and forget the metal roof. That sounds like a lot of work. Was that any come back to how you made out?
Okay, guys. Well, I appreciate all your information, and I'm going to take that into effect. Because I'm going to be getting an antenna by the end of the week, so that was very good to hear that information. I'm going to take it and use it, and maybe I'll get on here next week and let y'all know how it went down. So that'll be fun, and I appreciate it. So this was KE2 CCK back to net control.
Well, thank you, Matthew. We do like to hear success stories. We like to hear people come back and let us know what they did, how things worked out. Jim is up next. You have a question in queue here from Hudson, Ohio, KE8YIR. Yeah, this is KE8YIR. Gentlemen, thank you. Yeah, question is brand new to All-Star here. I'm running off a little node here in the house. But to hit a repeater, an All-Star repeater, how do I connect to that? Do I do a star or an asterisk 3, connect to their node, and then another asterisk 3 to connect to another, or just what's the procedure? Over. Well, this is your lucky night, Gerald. David's here, and he can answer any ham VoIP or All-Star questions that you got. David, good evening again.
Yeah, K4FXC. Yeah, depending on which system you're running, just whatever the connect command is, it'd be like on ham VoIP, it'd be like *3 and then the node number. Or if you have Echo Link enabled, it'd be *33 and the Echo Link number. For example, would be two scenarios. Usually the nodes are directly connected to repeaters, so when you connect to the person's node, you own the repeater. That's the most typical way that the systems are hooked up. But you want to make sure that you don't get connected to multiple systems simultaneously. So make sure to disconnect from one before you connect to another, or you can bridge multiple systems together, and a lot of repeater owners get a little ticklish about that. Understandably so. They're not expecting to, their repeater to be on somebody else's repeater. So just use caution, connect to one or connect to another, but disconnect in the meantime. But it's really easy. That's it. I mean, you just do *3 or whatever connect command you got set up, and the node number, and once it's linked together, typically you're on the repeater if it's a node attached to a repeater. So that's super easy. K4FXC.
To answer your question, Joe? Yeah, David, I think so. I don't have to connect it. I don't have to do a *3 and connect to the local repeater node first. I just do a *3 and connect to whatever node I want to. Is that correct?
Yes. If you want to connect to the local repeater, then you connect to the node number associated with that repeater. But if you don't want to connect to that repeater, you want to connect to some distant repeater, then you wouldn't connect to the local one at all. Just go ahead and just issue the connect straight to the remote repeater. So for example, if you connect to the local repeater and then turn right back around and did a connect to the remote repeater as well, then you'd bridge those two repeaters together. So if you transmit it on RF on the first repeater, well, they come out on RF on the second repeater, and that's a scenario that's that is it's somewhat undesirable. Depending on how busy the systems are, you may get some folks get more excited about it than others, but typically that's not a not a scenario. So disconnect from one before you connect to the other, so you don't bridge them together. But that's exactly how it's done. It's super easy. K4XC.
Does that help to you, Gerald?
Yes, sir, I think so. I'll not have any success here trying to connect to a couple of local repeaters, but that doesn't mean it's just probably fat thumbs or whatever I'm doing wrong here. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and good listening to the net tonight. I'll turn it back to net control, KE8YIR.
Perfect.
Right. Make sure the digits, you don't drop carrier in between digits. That's always a big thing that a lot of people that are not familiar with touch tones do. They key or something, but most radios you got to key the mic and then enter the digits and then unkey. Don't let any breaks in between or you start all over. Let us know how you make out. Got a problem? Come on back. Who else do I have tonight? Stations with a question. Call signs twice. This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
Delta 6 Charlie Whiskey India. Good evening, Dick, and everyone.
Again, Ruben, I'm sorry, the station on Treasure Island. The station on Treasure Island. I think you tried calling in once before. It's all noise. You're all noise. Ruben, KD6TWI, good evening. Your question.
Thank you, Dick. Okay, so this is a real question. I've been troubleshooting it for a week already. So it's about my D-Star link on the Pi Star. So I'm operating on a Zoom spot. So this used to work before, and right now I don't know what's going on. So on the admin, it's showing unlink, and I tried unlinking it and relinking it again. It didn't work. I did a power reboot, a shutdown, a configure restore. The wires works and America Link works, but I can't seem to figure out how to make my D-Star work again into my Pi Star. I'm operating on a Zoom spot, Nexon 3.0 hotspot. And back to Dick, and pleasure to be here, and thank you for all the information coming out on the net.
All right, well, let's see if we can find some D-Star users to answer your question. I am not, but who do I have that's a D-Star user that can come in and help Ruben out?
WB3GTM, Baker 3 Golf, Tango, Mike.
Well, look who's going to bail me out, WB3GTM. Good evening.
Good evening, Dick. Good evening, everybody on the net. And I'll quickly answer the question, the next question. I'll say, I got tractor rims and tires on my mind. And it's a long story, so I guess we'll just work around that. Back to the D-Star question. I have a feeling it's probably a radio issue, but in this configuration, the only thing you need to do is turn on D-Star mode, have this call sign in the general configuration, and then in D-Star configuration, it's got to have a call sign with a module specified, and RPT2 has a call sign with a G for gateway, and that module specified in RTP1, that left has to be in the 8th position, same as the RPT2 call sign. G has to be in the 8th position. But without knowing what setup it's hard to say with as little as that he has mentioned. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. This is Mike WB3. Do you think that answered your question?
Hey, Dick. Yeah, so it doesn't work on my ICOM ID51 and my Kenwood THD74, so both radios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email Mike, Whiskey Bravo 3 Golf Tango Mike, and I'll give him my phone number and we'll do this on the side. I already posted on the MyStar on Facebook. Answers I've been getting are not, they're trying to help, but it's not the correct answer. Okay, so I'm going to cut it because there's a lot of stations coming in. Advance Happy Holidays, advance Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. God bless everyone and their families. 73 KD6 CWI. Stay healthy, Dick, and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ruben. Same to you. Forgot who asked that question. Ruben had answered the question. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming in and work with Ruben on that. Who else do I have? Stations with a question tonight. Call signs twice. This is Dick, WB2JP. Go.
KK4 JPW. Kilo K4 Juliet Papa Whiskey.
And I think I started to double with you a little bit there, but we got you, KK, or Vicky got you, not me, KK4 JPW. In Monticello, Kentucky, your question, please.
Yes, I apologize. I'm actually on my cell phone because our local repeater has fell offline several times here lately. So, but anyway, hopefully I'm coming through fairly clearly. My question is looking to put a mobile in my vehicle, and I'm just curious. Most of the stuff around here is, of course, just your standard meter. I'm still learning all this digital side, but should I go with something like an ICOM 2730 or similar, that's got the basics, or should I go ahead and, if I've got the ability to go ahead and go up to like a Yaesu, I think it's the 500, FTM 500, with all the digital modes and bells and whistles and so forth? Thank you.
Well, we'll put that out to the group. That's kind of personal preference, but who'd like to help Brian out?
460.
Well, David, you could spend Brian's money just as well as anybody else, can't you?
There you go. Well, certainly analog radios will, in the ham world, hopefully be around forever. So the analog ICOM will certainly be viable. The Yaesu fusion radios, to a large degree, it depends on if somebody's got a fusion system in your area, or if you're wanting to connect fusion, then that would be a justification for getting the Yaesu radio. But it's if you're just getting started, it's hard to go wrong with just analog. But as there was another question that was asked earlier was, well, are there some more inexpensive analog radios out there? And there are quite a few. In fact, I got a Anytone 778 that I recently got to wait, and it's one of the $130 or $150 class VHF UHF rigs, and I This one I've got, I think it's got some issues. I'm not pleased with it, but it's in my opinion way below the quality that I would typically expect with a like one of the ICOM, Kenwood, or Yaesus. But it's either way. If there's I would say that the biggest factor would be if there's a digital system in your area, a Yaesu fusion system you're wanting to get access to, then that would be the biggest justification for getting the Yaesu. Otherwise, the ICOM will get mileage as well. But it's 6 one dozen the other. But just if you don't have a fusion system in the area, or a hotspot or whatnot, then you won't be able to get anything extra out of the Yaesu. But and the Yaesu might have a little better receiver. Others might be able to comment on that. But from a first rig perspective, analog will get you a long way in K4FXC.
Thank you, David. Is that any help to you, Brian?
Yes, I appreciate the input. I had looked at digital radios, and I think I may save that, for use at the shack at home, and I wasn't sure if I would have enough justification to put it in a vehicle. I have a commute to and from work every day. Can't really do, I think, a lot of those things while you're driving. So, but yes, I appreciate the input very much. KK4 JPW, back to net control.
All right, Brian. And I tried to get a hold of the repeater owner there in Monticello. I don't think he has a current email address. I tried to get a hold of him over the last year or so, and if I have the right party. And I don't know if we can connect him back or not. I don't remember the node number, but he might have got bounced off. But best thing to do there is get a hold of the node owner. That's the best thing to do with anybody. We do not control the repeaters, some of them that are connected here, but I get emails every single day from people that, my repeater's off the air. When's it going to come back? I have no idea. I don't know where your repeater is. We have no control over it. You need to talk to the repeater owner. And I know people just don't realize that, but we control a few, but not that many. So good luck with that, Brian. I'll take one more question, and then we're going to go to general check-ins. One more question, one more amateur radio-related question. Call signs twice.
Kilo 7 Oscar Golf Charlie. Kilo 7 Oscar Golf Charlie.
Well, nice to see somebody coming in on 220 from one of the mountaintops in Reno. Good evening, Fred. KK7 OGC.
Good evening, Dick, and everyone on the net. Just a silly, simple question. I read the newsletter, downloaded DV Switch. I can connect to you guys, but for the life of me, I can't find in any hamburger menu how to make it come out of the speaker instead of the headset.
Well, that is a setting in your phone. Funny you should say that. I've had the same thing over the last few years. I've had DV Switcher for years. That's a setting in your phone. In the menu on DV Switch on the phone. I believe it's on DV Switch. I don't know if anybody out there that can help Fred. I just don't remember without looking at it, Fred. I might be able to. Can anybody help Fred out?
K4FXC, that is the setting in the phone, but the DV Switch forums would be the place to go get more help on that probably, since they would be the experts at K4FXC.
just trying to look at it myself. I just don't see it right off. Just don't see it right off the bat, Fred. I assume you got a good email address on QRZ. If I can find it, I'll email you. How's that?
Dick, yeah. Comes out on the speaker and I can switch that back and forth, but I just couldn't find it on DD Switch. Anyway, happy holidays to all and Happy New Year. KK70GC, back to net.
Alrighty. Well, hopefully I can find it for you. I'll take a look here in a minute. I had the same issue. I just don't remember how I resolved it a while back. A couple years ago. But it is in there, somewhere in that menu. Well, I gotta send it up to Kevin, VE3BZ, see what he's got on his swap and shop. And he's got nothing on his swap and shop. We'll hear from him anyway. Good evening, Kevin.
Hey, good evening, Dick, and good evening, everyone on the net. Kevin here, VE3BZ, and I have one listing. It'll probably be the last time I read it on this net. Richard, KD3WT in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is looking for a Kenwood/Trio TR7200 crystal control VHF mobile radio. If you have one, or you can get one, contact him by email at kd3wt1974@earthlink.net. He's also good on QRZ. And that is all. If you have anything that you'd like to list for sale, trade, or want, just go to eastcoastreflector.com, click on Contact ECR on the top menu, and go to SWAT-net submissions. And that's it for me. Back to you, Dick, VE3BZ.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to send it over to Scott here in just a minute, but don't forget, next week is Christmas Eve. I'm sure we won't forget, but we will be here. Santa will be here reading, not live. Santa's got a very busy night ahead of him. So he couldn't make it live, but he will be here reading that he received, and he needs to have letters to read. It's up to everybody to get them in to ecrhohoho@gmail.com. This is not only for the kids. We want to make it fun for everybody. So send each other Christmas joys or whatever, or wants or whatever, and let's try to make it fun. It might take a few years to get this to roll out the way I had, but support us and send your emails in to ecrhoho@gmail.com. Especially the kids. Get the kids involved, grandkids and so forth, and also we'll get them in here live on the 21st and 23rd at 7 o'clock. We also would like to know is throughout the, what's on your mind, but we also like to know, we're going to have a New Year's Eve right Q-net. What time should we start it? Everything is East Coast time, but should we start it at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or whatever? Of course, we need people to support it, so I know a lot of people go to bed early on New Year's Eve, so maybe some are in bed by 10 o'clock, so maybe we need to start earlier. So just mention that little track. So over to Scott. We get 2 BLT. Thank you, Vicky KVKY logging. See at 7 on the morning brew. This is WB2JPQ.
Scott, W2BLT in beautiful, almost freezing Buffalo, New York. I'll be your host for the first half of the check-ins, and then we'll turn it over to Kevin, KE7K, for the last half. We're going to start out with the ones tonight, as we started out with the zeros last week. They go to the end. We start out with the ones. I'll be your host for the fives. With that said, there is no question tonight, just what's on your mind, briefly. Let's take the ones. Do we have anyone out there with a 1 in your call sign? Please come now.
N1 CBM, November 1, Charlie Row, Mike, in and out. Just want to say hi.
Is November Juliet, November Juliet 1 Sierra, Eric in Shelburne, Vermont. And I didn't have a
November 1, Whiskey, Echo Bravo. November 1, Whiskey, Echo Bravo. Recognizing N1WEB, Web, NJ1S, Eric. And at the top of the list, I had an N1, was it CRM?
N1 CBM, Charlie Bravo, Mike. I was in and out. Just want to say hello to all you guys. And I got to go hit the bed real quick. So, good night.
Alrighty, Carlos, thank you for joining us. And you have a sleep. Let's go to NJ1S, Eric in Shelburne, Vermont. Good evening, Eric, and what's on your mind?
Yeah, good evening, Scott, Dick, and everyone else on the next. I've been listening in the entire time. A couple of the comments that I wanted to make real quick. To the gentleman that mentioned he's looking for a mobile end for his truck. I think he said an F-150. There is a Comet brand mobile antenna, a mag mount. I don't know if that would be sufficient for that gentleman, but the model number is C as in Charlie, Sierra Bravo, CSB 790A. That is a pretty reasonable antenna, under $100, and it is dual band, VHF, UHF. So it's, I find it to be an impressive antenna. It works fine for me. I've also purchased and built and given away a Yagi antenna for the other gentleman that was log periodic. There is a high gain antenna if you look it up. Now, everybody who is mentioning buy a vertical, that's a great idea. It certainly will get you out something with a little gain, but if you go with a Yagi antenna, it will improve your reception, while a vertical will not. Height will improve it, but not not like directional antennas will. So high gain made an antenna called a D-45, Delta Bravo 2345. That antenna on the HRO website is 157 and change. That's quite respectable. You run the antenna vertically, not horizontally, if you're trying to get into repeaters, as a lot of people would tell you. And for the other gentleman that mentioned whether or not you should buy the 500 versus sticking with an analog, keep in mind that people that operate analog have a lot of fun with satellites. They call them birds, LEOs. So keep in mind that with a reasonably decent directional antenna, you can work the International Space Station around our continent more than a few times in a day. With that in mind, back over to you, Scott, and thanks for letting me check in. Have a great evening, and 7-3. Back over to Net Control.
Thank you, Eric. Have yourself a great evening. Next, N1 WEB, Webb in Collierville, Tennessee. Good evening, Webb. Hey, thank you, Scott, and thank you, Vicki, and good evening to the net. All I have to say tonight is congratulations on the 600th episode. That's an amazing achievement. N1 WEB, back to net. I've been here for a few here. Let's go to the twos via the text line. We already have KD2JPP, Bob, W2AJR, Andy, and a VK2DY, Robert. Who else do we have with a 2 in your call sign? Please come now with your call sign twice.
CJM, W2, CJM, in and out.
Zulu Sierra 2 Echo Charlie.
November 2 Lima, call back. November 2 Lima, back, Buffalo in and out.
Alrighty, hold it for a moment, recognizing N2LQQ. Chris in West Seneca was in and out. Thanks for joining us. We had ZS2EC, Tom. W2CJM, Charles in New York was in and out. Thanks for joining us and have a great evening. Who else do we have? Anyone else with a 2 in your call sign? Please come now. Nothing heard. Let's go to the top of this list. KD2JPP, Bob in Gallatin, Tennessee. Good evening, Bob. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, Scott, good evening. And good evening. Well, I'll be very honest with you. Completely fried. One of those days. That's all I'm going to say. I really don't have much on my mind other than to congratulate the East Coast Reflector on 600th. That's huge. It's a great net. But so I'm going to leave it at 0. I couldn't rag true about anything tonight. I need that flop. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you next week. JPP 73 to everybody.
Alrighty, Bob. Well, thanks for joining us, and hope you get a good night's sleep. Always a pleasure. Next up, W2AJR, Andy in Cheektowaga, New York. Good evening, Andy. What's on your mind tonight?
Scott, everybody on the net. Well, like the previous check, my mind is pretty much blank. Not much going on up there this evening, which drives my absolutely. Thank you, Scott. 7-3, everybody. Have a great week.
Well, I know what you're talking about, Andy, because there's 1,000 things going through their mind that you should also be thinking about, according to them. Have a great evening, Andy. Yes. Go around the world. VK2DY, Robert in Kellyville Ridge, New South Wales, Australia. Good afternoon, Robert.
Steve, good afternoon. This is Robert, VK2DY. Looks like yesterday the temperature was 41 Celsius. Today it's 21 Celsius. We had a cold front pass through last night, so we went from too hot to too cool for this summer's day. So it's going to go back up to normal, but we just had this temperature change, and we had this streak of hot weather. So interesting. Yesterday we had the 10 hottest temperatures in the world. They were all here in Australia. My backyard is 41, 105 Fahrenheit or something like that. Anyway, too warm. Christmas Day here looks like temperature between 28 and 30. And so for the first time in about 3 or 4 years since El Nino was here, I'll be able to do my normal Christmas plans, which are to go drive down to my brother-in-law's for Christmas Eve, and then drive from his house down to the beach at Service Bay and have a picnic on the beach on Christmas Day. Just the perfect way to spend Christmas Day, you know. And it's a white Christmas because it's a long stretch. Service Day is a long stretch of white sand, so it's definitely going to be a white Christmas here. With that, I'll wish you a Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever holidays I've missed. Happy holidays. VKTY, back to Ned.
Alrighty, thank you, Robert. Appreciate you joining us. This is W2BLT. Next up, ZS2EC. Eunice, good evening.
Congratulations, Scott, and good morning to everybody. Local time here, 4:48. And congratulations on pronouncing my name correctly. And congratulations on the TechNet being on the air for 600, whatever. And nothing to add. Temperature here, 70 degrees Celsius. The highest it was a week ago was 52 Celsius, about 1,000 kilometers from me. Nothing to add. And quite an interesting conversation about mobile VHF, UHF radios and also antennas. And the previous guy mentioned a Charlie Sierra Bravo 798, and that's a good price in South African currency with the current rates at 18 Rand exchange. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you joining us, and it's always a pleasure. Alrighty, let's go to the threes. Doesn't look like we have any threes on the text line. Who do we have with a 3 out there who would like to join us? Please come with your call sign now.
Charlie 3, Foxtrot Golf Delta. Kilo, Charlie 3, Foxtrot Golf Delta.
Victor Echo 3, India, Quebec uniform. IQU. Already recognizing BE3IQU, Reg, and KC3FGD, Ray. Anyone else with a 3 in your call sign? Last call for the 3s. So 3 Whiskey, Charlie Whiskey. Already recognizing BE3 WCW, Dan. Let's go up to the top of this list. B3FGD, Ray in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Good evening, Ray, and no question tonight, just what's on your mind?
Well, I've been running back and forth in the kitchen, bits and pieces of the TechNet, and listening to this wonderful net here, and I made some homemade breakfast sausage yesterday, so just frying up a piece to make sure it's go. And had a great bowling day today, and get a good night's sleep and get up to the wood shop tomorrow morning. So I'm sure you've seen pictures of our wonderful wood shop. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Turn it back to Scott at Net Control.
Thank you, Ray. Yes, I have seen pictures, and that's more like the Taj Mahal of wood shops. Have a great night, Ray. Appreciate you joining us. BE3IQU, Reg up in Brampton, Canada. Good evening, Reg.
Had a very good evening to you there, Scott, and everybody else in the net there tonight. And things are good here. Wife and I are okay, and enjoying life as much as possible. And ready for Christmas, and tomorrow is Christmas tree day. At least that's the plan. From day to day, that's the plan tonight. And so I'm going to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and celebrate happy holidays to those that don't. And have a wonderful time. Enjoy life, enjoy your families, and that's all. Stay stay healthy, of course. That's pretty much the extent of what we can expect, I guess, Scott. So back to you, and very Merry Christmas to you as well. From V3I, kill your raps.
Thank you, Reg, and Merry Christmas to you and your family. It's a pleasure to talk with you always. Let's go to WCW, Dan and Tiny, Ontario, Canada. Good evening, Dan.
Hello, Scott, and all on that, V3WCW, Dan here. I'm running mobile, just heading back by the office QTH in Toronto. I'm trying to tie everything here in a bow for this week. Last little bit of work before I take a well-deserved couple weeks off for the holidays and spend some time with the family. Looking forward to it. I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully you get some downtime and enjoy the finer things in life. It's been a crazy year, I guess, at least to say. So hopefully we'll have a better year next year for everyone, and stay positive, and 7-3 to all. V3WCW, back to net control.
Thank you, Dan, and have fun going home there on the traffic, and you have a good Christmas as well. Okay, that's going to do it for the threes. We're going to go to the fours. Via the text line, we have KK4 JPW Brian, KK4 SED Les, and KY4MB Scott. Who else do we have with a 4 in your call sign? Please come.
4FA.
November 4, Romeo Hotel Echo. November 4, Romeo Hotel Echo.
This is 9Y4DX. 9 Yankee 4 Delta X-ray, Bertrand.
Alrighty, we'll hold up there for a minute, recognizing 9Y4DX Bertrand. We had N4 RH Roger. We had a KQ4 station. Was that KQ4FAG? Was that you?
Go ahead, Scott.
Alrighty. Think you do a fine job again. Fours, come now, please.
Kilo Quebec 4, Sierra Tango Romeo. Kilo Quebec 4, Sierra Tango Romeo.
Already recognizing KQ4STR, Frannel. Let's go to the top of this list. Question tonight, folks, just what's on your mind. Let's go to KK4 JPW, Brian in Monticello, Kentucky. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, everyone. Not a whole lot on the mind. Just got be back to the office tomorrow and doing the same old. Trying to compensate for one team member being out. When there's only 3 of us, one outage makes a big difference. Anyway, but he's got the foreseeable future. Had a bad fall, broke the humerus and cracked his ball joint in that arm up in 7 different spots apparently. Anyway, fortunately for him, I guess we're comfortable. But just trying to keep up all the other tasks and such in the meantime. But also glad that we're heading into that. That'll give us some much needed downtime. So hopefully it'll all stay quiet and we'll stay working.
So, anyway, that's about it. Other than that, just got a head staring at me at the local Taco Bell I happen to be sitting at. So, other than that, that's about all I got going on. Let's take it forward, JPW.
Thank you, Brian, and good luck with work there. Sounds like quite a chore for you. This is WT. Let's go to KK4 SED. Les, Claremont, Florida. Good evening, Les.
Yeah, Les here in Claremont, Florida. Oh, and by the way, it's 70 degrees here, Scott, so thought you'd like to hear that. As far as what's on my mind tonight, I just got to thinking about the 600 sessions. That's quite an accomplishment for the net. So for everybody that held it together for all these years. So that's it. KK4 SED back to net.
Thank you, Les, and I believe that's 600 consecutive tech nets, which is even a bigger accomplishment in my book, anyway. Have a great night. Always a pleasure talking with you. Let's go down to Memphis. KY4MB. Scott, good evening.
Well, good evening, Scott and Brother Randall, if he's listening. Everybody on the brew crew. Memphis, Tennessee, Elvis barbecue land. We're at 60 degrees, so yeah, a little rain that day, and then anyway, we get a little cool spell coming early mornings, I guess, coming up. But right now, for another day, that's some warm temps. Well, what's on my mind? I think I would like to say congratulations on 600 there for the tech nets, consecutive nets, and thanks to everybody on the ECR and all their hard work there to keep everything going, Scott. And I would say that a nice BLT would be good. I could use some more for dinner there, so that reminded me that might be good. And old Graceland will be lit up too. Got to get over there and see that. They usually have some lights and things going on in downtown, and it's that time of year, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy whatever everybody's celebrating there. And I'm also thinking how I'd like to be in just a little bit down there in Trinidad and Tobago, or maybe Sydney, where there's some warmer temps when we get our coolish weather here for the winter. Back over to you, Scott, and the net. Talk to everybody in the morning. KY4NB, back to net.
Thank you, Scott. And I wanted to tell you, and I haven't had a chance to yet, I had a bunch of people over Saturday night for a party. And I cooked me a brisket, only I did it in the oven. And I got to tell you, it must have been okay, because when everybody left, so was the brisket. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Next up, KQ4 FHE, Pat in Harvest, Alabama. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening, Scott, and everybody else in the net. This is KQ4 FHE. I've been experiencing back pain the last several months, and that's where my mind is. It's focusing on the pain. I've tried it, and it's not working, so I'm going to have to try something else. And but it is better today, and just trying to distract myself so that I don't keep thinking about it and focusing on it. 73 to everybody, and we'll hear you next week.
Thoroughly appreciate back pain. Have a great evening. Next up, N4RHE, Roger in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Good evening.
W2BLT, good evening, Scott. November 4, Romeo Hotel Echo. Congratulations to the Godfather and TechNet on the 600 milestone. Any Roman numeral uses only 7 primary symbols. which are I, X, L, C, D, and M. For 600, D represents 500, C is 100. So DC represents 600. Also, DC to daylight refers to waveforms encompassing all electronics, from direct current to visible light. Before Roger Hampton asked, DC, congratulations.
Well, thank you, Roger. We appreciate it. You have yourself a great evening, and somebody will talk to you in the morning. Let's go to our buddy Bertrand in 9Y4 DX in Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening, Bertrand.
Well, pleasant evening to you, Net Control, Scott, W2BLT. This is 9Y4DX, Bertrand, my location, Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. Well, let me say a pleasant evening as well to all of the stations on the net. I hope everyone is doing well. Safe. Well, let me say that Trinidad has been having some intermittent weather. We had some rain, but we've been having rain for the past few days. However, not as heavy as we would expect, hoping that we would get enough rain for when the dry season comes. So that's it. With respect to the question, or not the question, but what is on my mind, actually, my wife is doing some baking and we have to get the stuff out. And the traffic is already getting heavy in Trinidad. Even though it's small, but yet the traffic is really something. So that's on my mind. How do I get things done? So that's it from me, and I know it will be done, but it will take some time. Thanks, M3 door, and we'll catch you again later. Back to you, Net Control, W2BLT. This is 9Y4. Yeah.
Thank you, Bertrand. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and we'll talk to you again soon. And last on this list, 4 STR, Fresno in Sunrise, Florida. Good evening. What's on your mind?
Good evening, W2BLT. This is Kel, Quebec 4 STR. What's on my mind, Scott, is just wondering why we are so stuck with the coax cable between our transceiver to the antenna. So I was kind of like thinking about it, if we're going to transition that to a fiber optic. That's on my mind. Good evening again, all the stations joining the net. More power to you, Scott. Have a nice evening and happy holidays.
And happy holidays to you as well. Thanks for joining us this evening. This is W2BLT. We're going to move on to the 5s, and via the text line, we have KI5, PMI, Bill. Who else do we have with a 5 in your call sign? Now is your opportunity. Please come now.
Kilo Echo 5, Sierra Tango Romeo. Kilo Echo 5, Sierra Tango Romeo. Kilo K5HLH, Kilowatt 5, Hotel Lima Hotel.
Kilo Juliet 5, India, Romeo, Quebec. KJ5, IOSQ.
Kilo 5, Romeo Lima Romeo, K5 RLR.
Alrighty, recognizing the bottom up, we had K5 RLR rental. We had K K5IQ, it sounded like it. K5HLH, KE5STR. Is that KJ5IRQ? Is that a correct call sign, Joshua?
Try that again. Yes, sir. KJ5IRQ. Kilo Juliet 5, India, Romeo, Quebec.
Alrighty, we got you there, Joshua. Anyone else with a 5 in your call sign I didn't acknowledge? Please come now. Well, with nothing heard, we'll go to the top of this list. KI5, PMI, Bill in Hobbs, New Mexico. Good evening. What's on your mind tonight?
Good evening, Scott, and everybody on the net. Not much tonight. I had a long day. It was a good day, but it was very long, and I'm resting my brain, just enjoying the conversation that's going on the net. So, congratulations on your episode count, and hope everybody has a good night. Back to net.
KC5CZX.
Listen to Daryl sneaking in there on the backside. We'll get to you shortly there, Daryl. KE5STR, Roger, Spring, Texas. Good evening.
Good evening, Scott, and congrats on the 600th. I'm usually just a listener to TechNet, but you definitely reached a most wonderful milestone. On my mind this evening is I'm just grateful for a hobby that connects me to so many around the world who share a love of this particular hobby. And that's it for me. Just wanted to say thanks. Appreciate you, KE5STR.
Roger, and it's folks like you that keep it going for 600 consecutive nets. Have a great evening. K5HLH, Harry in Grants, New Mexico. Good evening.
K5HLH, Harry in Grants, New Mexico. For the Cibola County Amateur Radio Club, we've been hosting the TechNet on our repeaters on Tuesday evenings here in northwest New Mexico. And it's getting a little late here, and I think after you get the 5 check-ins, which is what most of our folks are in our neck of the woods, we're going to go ahead and probably drop the link to All-Star. But we want to thank you and wish everyone a very, very K5H back to net.
Well, thanks, Roger. Appreciate it, and appreciate you carrying us there on Tuesday evenings. Have a great next up, KJ5IRQ, Joshua in Mineral Wells, Texas. Good evening. Looks like you're new to the system. Welcome, and what's on your mind tonight?
Well, thank you. This is the first time that I've taken to this net. I've lectured once before, and Tuesday, I'm a day ahead of myself. Tuesdays are sometimes hard to jump on for me, so I was able to get on today. On my mind today is All-Star. I've started working on an All-Star project for the first time. I'm pretty excited about it. Other than that, just getting ready for Christmas. But I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody for doing this net. It's really fun to listen to. And we'll talk again soon. Back to the net.
Stop in and tell the fellas on the morning brew hello. It's 7 to 9 every morning. Love to have you. Let's go to K5RLR, one of our regulars on the morning brew and the TechNet. Good evening, Randall.
Well, good evening there, Scott, and
Brother Scott out there and everybody else on the TechNet. K5 RLR. First and foremost, Scott, congratulations to you, to Dick, Vicky, everybody. And of course, to us listeners. Because if it wasn't for us, it'd be none of y'all. Within reason, of course. Hi. So absolutely, thank you. As far as what's on the mind for the evening, well, I don't know if we have enough time for that, and honestly, that might be a little scary. Hi. Now, I guess what's on the mind would be the construction company finishing up the remodel from after the hurricane that happened back in July. Other than that, that's all I got. Hope everybody has a good evening. 73 everybody here in the morning on the brew. K5RLR, back to you, Scott. Thank you for running the net. We do appreciate it.
Alrighty, have a good evening, Randall. Always appreciate you joining us. And the last one for my portion tonight, KC5CZX. Daryl in Lubbock, Texas. Good evening, Daryl, and what's on your mind tonight?
Well, good evening to everybody on the net tonight, and happy 600. Wow, can't believe it's been that many. And nothing else. Back to net. KC5CZX.
Alrighty, thanks for joining us, Daryl. That's going to do it for me, folks. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin, KE7K, and he'll take you out to the tonight. Everyone have a great evening. 7-3. This is W2 BLT.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Kevin, KE7K. As Scott said, I'll be the final 5 call districts, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0, and I'll also be picking up any late or missed stations. And I will add to the congratulations on the 600th net. That is quite a cool accomplishment. I was doing a little back of the napkin math, and I've been involved or listening to the Reflector for about 5 years. So that's 260 nets, which means there was 340 nets before I got involved, and plus all the time before that Dick had put in to creating this community. So hats off to Dick. You've created a great community of people, and everybody's friendly with everybody, and it's always fun to listen to. So hats off to you, Dick. Thank you very much. The text line, if you'd like to check in that way, is 716-317-9050. If you check in that way, there's no internet, so hopefully you will respond when we come back to you, and we'll slot you in your call district or with a late missed if it's past your call district. Tonight we don't have a specific technical question, so to speak, but just want to know what's on your mind and how you're doing. So I will begin with the 6th call district so far via the text line. We have Charles, KC6UFM, and Ruben, KD6CWI. If you have a 6 in your call sign and you'd like to check in tonight, please come now. Final call for any more stations from the 6th call. Alright, nothing heard. Charles, KC6UF. Good evening. What's on your mind, and how is it in Guatai this evening?
Good evening, Kevin, and everyone on the tech. This is Charles, KC6 UFM from beautiful downtown Guatay, California. As far as what's on my mind, Kevin, basically how much money I had to spend to upgrade my backup power system. Last week, due to potential for wildfires, our power was turned off for 4 days straight, and my battery backup system was only designed for 3 days. And my wife is on 24 oxygen, so kind of had to do a little bit of stretching there to get it to work out, but made it through. But today I ordered 2 more batteries, and let me tell you something, 8 volt, 200 amp hour lithium batteries are not cheap, and picked up 4 more solar panels that are all going to come in and get all into the system. That should take me out to almost 5 days, so be good there. Congratulations to everyone concerned on number 600 here for the TechNet. I've only been around for about the last 200 or so, but that's quite the accomplishment, and got going with that. We had a great number of new users and questions this evening, and more questions, as Dick said earlier. Thursday evening, there's going to be the Ask an Elmer, Be an Elmer in the Zoom at 8 p.m. There at the eastcoastreflector.com, and if you've got questions, definitely come in there, and we'll be able to get you some help and get into a little more detail than what we can here on the TechNet. So otherwise, everyone take care. Those I missed before now and Christmas, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday, and above all, stay safe. 7-3. This is KC6, UFM, back to net control.
All right, very good, Charles. Thanks for checking in, and thanks for what you do for the magazine with your Antenna Farm articles. Those are always very informative. Ruben, KD6 CWI. All right, we'll have to put Ruben on the naughty list for checking in via the text line and not just, and being an in and out. That's not that what it's for. We'll move on to the 7th call district. If you have a 7 in your call sign, put it now. Final call for any stations with a 7 in their call sign. Please come now. Well, it seems like I'm going to owe Scott some back pay. He took a bunch on the front here tonight, apparently. We'll move on to the 8th call district. If you have an 8 in your call sign, except for Roy, KA8BYU, who was on the text line. If you have an 8 in your call sign, please come now.
Whiskey Bravo 8, Oscar Delta Foxtrot, WB8 ODF.
Good evening, Dave. WB8 ODF. Let's see if we can get you guys any more company. Final call for any stations with an 8 in their call sign. Please come now. All right, Roy, you're first up. KA8BYU. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Kevin. TechNet, KA8BYU. Yeah, I think the RAGTrueNet and all that's a great idea, and this is fantastic 600 consecutive weeks of the TechNet, and I hope it goes for at least 600 or more ongoing.
Well, I agree with you, Roy. And as K5RLR said, it's you users or you check-inners that are keeping us going. So without you guys, there wouldn't be a net. So you guys have done your part to get us to 600 as well. Dave, you've been around for a good portion of those 600 nets. WB8ODF, good evening.
Well, good evening, Kevin and everybody on the net. This is Dave, WB8ODF. I'm in Ypsilanti, southeastern Michigan. And what's on my mind? You guys asked. I mean, I think it's a little creepy. We might lose some nodes. They may disconnect. I don't know. But you asked. I'm gonna tell you. I'm only halfway through my Christmas card list, and I'm making myself. It says Merry Christmas, and then in small print it says, if you are given a fruit cake, I don't care if it's your children, your great-grandchildren, your cousins, whatever, send them to me. I will eat all of those things. However, there's one caveat. You have to pay shipping. I can't afford that. Thanks, Kevin, and Merry Christmas to everyone. I'll be here to talk to Santa.
All right, very good, Dave. And I'll say from my side is that I do get some fruit cakes, and I'd be happy to pass them on. But I will not do that if I don't get a Christmas card from you. And I am good on QRZ. Thanks for checking in, Dave. So we'll move on to the 9th call district. If you have a 9 in your call sign, please come now. Man, if we're getting paid by the call sign tonight, I am going to be struggling and on the street. If you have a 9 in your call sign, please come now.
WA9SNY.
WA9SNY, thanks for kicking into my tip jar here. Sanford in San Jose, California, good evening. What's on your mind this evening? We don't have a specific question for our 600th net. So over to you, WA9SNY. This is KE7K.
Thank you, WA9SNY. So you can, actually my name, I go by Sandy, and so that's one thing. I think this is my first time on this net. I've been a ham for 52 years, just getting back into it after all these years. And I do have a question. I'm right now communicating through Echolink on my iPhone. When I use my, my 2 meter or 70 centimeter rig, it's not working. And I believe I have it set right, but maybe confirm what the configuration is. I believe it's the offset is 5 megahertz. I don't know what else I'm missing.
Well, thanks for checking in, Sandy, and welcome to that. Looks like you've been on the Reflector at some point, but if you think you're new to the TechNet, glad to have you here for number 600. Your Echolink connection's working great. We don't know, can you give us more information on what repeater you're trying to connect to? With the East Coast Reflector, there's repeaters that we are somewhat in control of and know all the information about. And there's other repeaters, which might be the one that you're trying to connect to, that's just connected sometimes. So you may have to contact the repeater owner to find out what you're missing. But with offset, assuming it's not a simplex node, the only other thing would be the PL. So what repeater are you trying to connect to, Sandy?
Looks like I'm trying to connect to KU6V in somewhere in the San Jose area, which is 444.90. That's what I'm trying to connect to. I can hear you in it, but I can't speak. Is there another repeater in this area that you'd recommend me using? Go ahead.
Well, at the moment, I don't actually have our full-time node maps pulled up. If you go to eastcoastreflector.com, there's a drop-down where you can find nodes and repeaters, and that will give you a map of people that have reported to be full-time nodes. You can to your area. I'm looking at KU6V. I see his connected node is the 220 and a UHF node. Are you trying to get on? He doesn't have the PL listed here, but are you trying to get on the 220 side or the UHF side?
Trying to get on 444.90. 444.90. And yeah, that's it. And so it's the 70 centimeter side.
Comment, VE3BZ.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin. That will give me time to pull up the full-time node map, and perhaps you'll beat me to the punch. Go ahead, Kev.
Well, that's what I was butting in for. The PL on the 440 side, I think, is listed as 110.9. So it sounds like that's what you need to get into that repeater. If you're hearing it and not able to connect to it, you probably need the PL. Anyway, 110.9. Back to you, Kev, VE3BZ.
All right, VE3BZ. Thank you very much, Kevin. Yeah, I was looking at the map, and I know some nodes we have the offset and the PL listed, but I don't see it for KU6V's node there. So, Sandy, if you copy down that PL, give that a shot and see if that gets you in. And otherwise, if you're still having problems, contact KU6V. I assume he's good on QRZ. I'll see if I can sputter around here long enough to look up him on QRZ and see if he has a call sign. But he does. Yeah, Don's got his email listed on QRZ. Comment, so. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin. KE7K.
Sorry, 100. So if the 110 doesn't work, try the 100. Anyway, back to you, Kev, VE3BZ.
Yeah, right. Appreciate it, Kevin. Sandy, did you copy that information?
Yes, I think the only piece I'm missing is there was someone you said on the East Coast Reflector. I didn't get the call sign, so if you can get that back to me.
And just want to say thank you. I'm glad I was here for this milestone. I wasn't expecting to be here. I just sort of meandered in. And I guess one last point here before I turn it back to Net Control is, you know, when I got into this 52 years ago, and then when, you know, cell phones came out and all this stuff, I figured ham radio was going to die. And lo and behold, it isn't, and it's bigger than ever. So I'm just really happy to be back into the hobby. Thanks a lot for having me tonight. And if you could just repeat that call, that'll be it for tonight. WA9SNY, back to Net Control.
Yeah, very good, Sandy. Well, thanks for taking part with us tonight. Not sure which call you're looking for. I think you had the call sign of the repeater you're trying to get into. That was KU6V. If you go to QRZ.com, you can put in his call sign, and if you're logged in, you can look up his address and drop him an email. Over the last couple of years, he's sort of shifted around node numbers and changed some frequencies and some PLs. I'm not sure if he's dealing with interference there locally, so the information you find online might not be the most recent. So if that's not working, I encourage you to email Don, KU6V, and get the current. Thanks for checking in, Sandy. This is KE7K, your net control station, current net control station for the East Coast Reflector TechNet number 600 in a row. We'll move on to the 0 call district. If you have a 0 in your call sign, please come now.
0 NBA, San Antonio. N0, Mike, Sierra, Ross and Wapaton.
Good evening to Richard and Ross, WB0NBA and N0MSS. Final call for any call signs. 0 anybody from the 0 call district with a 0 in their call sign. Now. All right, hearing none. Richard, you're first up. No particular question tonight. Just curious what's on everybody's mind. WB0NBA, KE7K.
Listening around tonight, and I think I was on there one other time. I think it was last week. But that other station talking about being able to receive but not transmit. I've had the same problem here before I figured out the old radios without any tones in them. You can't do a damn thing. You can't get in and do anything. So anyway, I had to buy another radio, a modern radio to do that. The PL number is a tone of some sort. Go ahead.
Yeah, Roger, Richard. Yeah, the PL is just another way to sort of keep the repeater from opening some local noise. It's a sub-audible tone that your radio transmits, and the repeater won't start quote-unquote listening unless it has a specific tone. So that's how it avoids just keying up all the time with any local random noise. Thanks for checking in, Richard. Ross, I've been thinking about you a lot the last couple days. curious what you're doing for soup when you've got soup on your mind. N0 MSS.
Good evening, Kevin, and everybody on the net. Thank you for all the facilitators, the repeater honors, and everybody that makes this system work. Pat yourself on the back. Glad to be part of number 600. As far as soup goes, I'm still in favor of that wild rice chicken soup, or chicken wild rice soup. And I've used it with turkey too on Thanksgiving with leftovers. And I Googled Minnesota wild rice soup recipe, and that was a good one. So, yeah, you'll have to try that if you haven't. Currently, just hooking some wires up to a Kenwood TK805D to make another all-star node. So, keep them busy. I don't have anything else for the net, so I will turn it back to you. N0 MSS.
Very good, Ross. I've been working on my chicken noodles recently, but I do need to branch out. And I'm going to ask you one question so we can just put Dick in line with his 42 3/4 inches. What kind of snow have you guys had in North Dakota so far?
In my corner of the world, less than 5 inches so far for the year. Looking pretty bare out in a lot of the fields. We did have a little dusting today, but we are expecting another 4 inches in the next 24 hours. So we're kind of shy on snow for the season, but I don't mind. That allows the lakes to freeze over, and you can get out on the ice and do a little fishing. So I already went out last Saturday, and there was plenty of ice, 10 inches of ice. We drove the four-wheeler out on it and pulled the sled and fished for some walleye, so that was good. N0 MSS, back to now.
Well, that sounds reasonable, Ross. Thanks for checking in and being an active member of the repeater and the reflector. Always good to hear you. On to any late or missed stations. I'm struggling to come up with a way to segregate everybody tonight, but let's go with snowfall. If you have seen snow in the last week and you want to check in as late or missed, please come now.
82 venue. KD2 venue.
I checked back in with the record of 42.
KD2 WBZ.
All right, Derby Dan, recognize you, KD2VNU. Bob, Cortland, New York, KD2WBZ. And there was a really, really weak station out of Eden, New York, covered up with snow. Give it another chance. All right, station in Mesa, Arizona. I see you keying up, but we're not able to copy your call sign. Give it one more try. Yeah, nothing heard. The snow-covered station, please try again.
Well, with the record of 42 and a half or whatever we had, I need to check in again, Kevin. WB2JPQ. The only way we can make the national news is by the snowfall.
All right, Dick, we got you at WB2JPQ. Any late or missed stations that have not seen snow in the last week, please come now.
W4 PPX, W4 PPX.
W2 PW, W2 Papa.
November 6th, Sierra Alpha Whiskey. Oscar 4, Romeo, Oscar, November.
I recognize Don, W4PPX, Press, W2PW, Jacob, N6SWA, and the last station, Ron, KO4RO. KO4. The last station was at KO4RON.
Correct. Kilo Oscar 4, Romeo, Oscar, November, Ron, in Pittsboro, North Carolina.
All right, thank you. My New Year's resolution is to trust Vicky more, because that's not what I heard, and she freaking nailed it, as usual. There was one station trying to come in through the VK Australia hub that was not recognized. Could you come back with your full call, please? Right, nothing heard. I'll make one call for any late or missed stations. Final call. Any snow, anywhere. Please come now.
November 8, X-Ray, Zulu.
I recognize Ron in 8XZ. And I saw one station trying to come in through the K8 BWK repeater in Toledo, Ohio. If you can give it one more try, we'll try to get you in the log, but you were a pretty rough copy. In Toledo, please come again. Yeah, we see a key in the repeater there, but you're absolutely audio and not holding the repeater, so not going to be able to get you in this evening, but hope to get you next time. All right, let's work these 8 stations. First, Derby Dan, one of our system facilitators. K2VNU, good evening, Dan. What's on your mind tonight?
Good evening, Kevin. Good evening to the rest of the net. Well, we were trailing behind Dick in snow, over 3 feet. Not sure exactly the measurement because as it comes down it was wet and settling. So that's about it. Just taking care of family activities tonight. Wasn't able to get in early on. We'll return it back to the net. Everybody have a good evening. receiving you.
Very good, Dan. Well, I could see over 36 inches of snow. I could just barely see over 42 inches of snow. So I guess I need to live in Derby. Bob, KD2 WBZ, good evening.
Good evening, folks. Hey, congratulations on number 6. It's a big milestone for those folks who make this happen every week. I'm glad I can be part of number 600. Didn't expect it. I was just working and figured let me turn my radio on, and I heard the net going, and I said, hey, let me do a check-in. But here in Cortland, we only got maybe 6, 8 inches so far. But okay though, you guys can still hang on to your 30, 42 inches of snow. I'll hang on to my 6 or 8 inches of snow too. I'm sure we'll get it. Hey, take care, folks, and Merry Christmas to all of you.
Yes, thank you, Bob. Thanks for checking in. And Dick, WB2JPQ. I've got 2 questions for you tonight. You've set the record for snow. We all know that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm curious, how small is that window that gets that lake effect snow? How big a square mile area is it that is sort of in that path? WB2JPQ, KE7K.
Well, hi, Kevin. I might have to go to my lifeline, Scott, but I'd say about 5 or 6 miles, wouldn't you, Scott? The width of it, about 5 or 6 miles, the path of that snow. He's shaking his head. It's not very wide at all, maybe 5 miles, and it just sits there. It's really, Kevin. I can send you some pictures. It's literally one side of a street will be green grass, and the other side will have feet of snow. It just sits there and keeps dumping. We didn't get it as bad as they had anticipated, nor other years. I mean, we had 6 feet one year. It was coming down at 4 inches an hour for I don't know how many days. It was just unbelievable hit. I would never forget that. I opened up my garage door and I couldn't see anything, and it wasn't drifted snow. It was 6 feet of snow. But anyway, I'd say about 5 miles to answer your question. And to everybody, yeah, thanks really and truly from all of us here at the East Coast Reflector, like Kevin said, for supporting this for 12 years, 11 and a half years for 600 nets. We're pretty proud that we haven't missed the Tuesday night. And like Randall and others have said, it's you people out there that support the net, that sit here for 2.5, 3 hours every night to check in and say hello, and it's certainly appreciated. And it's been a pleasure for all of us to do it for all of these years. Catch you next week on Christmas Eve. This is WB2JPQ.
Well, thanks for checking in, Dick, and being a major part of this network, probably the most major part. And yeah, that's quite a microclimate, a 5-mile wide strip that gets that band. I always enjoy it when you can see it raining across the street and not raining on this side of the street, but seeing differences in feet of snow across the street would be something else. Dick, thank you for everything you've done to facilitate what we all enjoy today. So hats off to you again. Don in Hollywood, Florida, W4PPX.
Good afternoon, or good evening, Kevin and everybody on the crew. Thanks for doing this for, wow, 600. That's a special number. It's been about 75 degrees. All we get is liquids and regular sunshine. No ice, no frost, no snow, no trees changing colors. Makes me homesick for up north sometimes. 7-3 to everybody. Hope everybody has a great holiday and a Merry Christmas. Back to you.
Well, thanks for being there, Don, and being one of the consistent checker-inners as well. Press, I was surprised to hear that you hadn't seen snow, but that's just my impression from the other side of the continent here. W2PW, K7K, what's on your mind tonight, bud?
Well, good evening, Cap. W2PW, about 45 miles east of New York City, in a land of generally no snow. Name is Press, as you said. I've been living here since around 1985, and I always thought that we would just get a couple of weekends of snow a year. Sometimes you get some good ones. I remember one time there was some huge piles of snow at the place I worked at, but in general, no, very, very little snow. We haven't really seen any, although I will say that a couple of times in the last couple of years I've walked around saying, I grew up in Buffalo, and I'm saying, dang, there's a lot of snow. But no, just you know what I'm doing, Kevin, is I'm going through a bunch of like a lifetime of electronics that don't need anymore, and just pitch purging and packing and just cleaning and reducing. They say that we the first third of our lives lusting after stuff, the middle third of our lives collecting stuff, and then the last third of our lives getting rid of stuff. So I think I'm starting that. Back to you, W2PW.
Very, very good, Press. Thanks for checking in, and thanks for being part of the here with your repeaters there. They always sound good and bring lots of traffic to the system. Thanks for checking in, Press. Always good to talk to you. There we got 3 more this evening. Jacob in San Jose, California, N6SAW. Good evening, Jacob. What's on your mind?
Good evening, everyone. What is currently on my mind is I am currently in the same situation as, I believe it was WA9SNY earlier, trying to get into the repeater over here in San Jose. Thanks to him, I figured out that there is the EchoLink connection, so I'm able to check in and say hello first time. And on the 600th night, congratulations. I hope to continue returning. I will be if you are still listening, WA9SY, I'm going to try and reach out to you over email, maybe contact you, hopefully figure out this here. That's no snow here in California, but there's definitely been some rain recently. Hurricanes, if you heard about them, definitely been quite the interesting weather recently. Anyways, back to you now. N6.
All right, thanks for checking in, Jacob. And yeah, I think we got 2 reports of people not being able to get into that repeater. Presumably you both got the published PL, and using that, I would encourage you both to contact Don, KU. I'm sure he can straighten you out. He may have just recently changed that PL and be not causing the issue, but that may be the reason you can't get in there. Thanks for checking in, Jacob. Ron in Pittsboro, North Carolina. Looks like you're new to the system, Ron. Welcome. If you get your email address on QRZ, we'll send you a welcome letter. But regardless, happy to have you on the system. KO4 RON.
Evening, this is Ron, KO4RON. Thrilled to be on here. First time I heard this net. Was about to go downstairs and get a bite to eat, but I thought I would spin around the dial one more time. Picked up you guys and thought I would reach out and see if I could get in. Apparently it's attached via Echo Link, so it's exciting to me to hear people from all across the country. Weather here is pretty remarkable. It's cold, but uncharacteristically dry. Low humidity right now. No snow, no precipitation. But I'm currently just retired, and I'm also going through all my stuff and trying to sort out what is what and what needs to go and what needs to stay. But anyway, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy Easter, and much for having this net for RON.
Well, thanks for checking in, Ron. Happy to have you. And just back just for a second, Jacob, N6SAW, and Sandy, WA9SNY. Dick was just mentioning in the Zoom room, in the logging room here, that at times Don puts that into receive only, meaning it only is outputting audio that it receives from the reflector and won't transmit local audio back to the reflector. So again, that might be something that you can work out if you drop an email to Don, and hopefully he can help you guys out. Speaking of Ron, Ron is our last station this evening from Warren, Michigan, N8XZ. Ron, I don't remember you checking in before. At least not with me, because I would have told you that that's a super cool call sign. N8XZ, KE7K. What's on your mind tonight, Ron? N8XZ, are you still with me? This is KE7K. All right, everything heard from Ron, but cool call sign. I'll make a couple quick announcements. We've got the morning brew every morning. That'll be the next thing, and tomorrow evening we play Amateur Radio Newsline at 10 p.m. Eastern. If you missed it on Sunday, get the replay of that. I'd like to thank everybody that checked in tonight and everybody that has helped us over the years to make 600 consecutive nets possible. I don't know what other nets are doing, and I don't really care, but I know that this has been a great net for all the time I've participated in it, and I hope it continues for another 600 and many more beyond that. On behalf of the entire East Coast Reflector team, I'd like to thank all stations who participated and those who stood by to give us a clear reflector. This is Kilo Echo 7 Kilo, returning the East Coast Reflector to normal use. Good evening.